Tipping is the biggest scam in America. All right, what's good, y'all? So, in America, we are a big tip culture. Business people got smart and they realized that they could offset their costs to their employees onto the consumer.
Yeah, welcome back in Rockstars. Today we're going to talk about tip culture and tip scams because the last video I did a few weeks back was so popular. I got a ton of messages and comments and emails about some other video clips that we should take a look at. So we're just going to jump into it today. Some of these are the restaurants trying to scam. Some of these are the waiters and waitresses, your service workers who are trying to scam. And some of this is just about tip culture and tip scam culture and where it began altogether. So let's take a look at it. Let's go through a few of these clips and you guys can let me know, as always, in the comments section what you think about these tip scams, about who does them, why they're done, how they happen, how tip culture became the way it is here in the United States. I know those of you watching overseas probably don't have these issues, but we do in America because it's become such a big deal. Let's jump into the first clip and we'll go from there. All right, this first gentleman, apparently he's from my area, actually. The video shows in Tampa, so not that far from me. He had an issue with Chili's. Chili's, one of the good restaurants, right? One of the good people. Let's check it out.
Chili's, you got some freaking explaining to do. Tell me how I took my wife out to dinner last night. Our total was $27.07, and the tips on the receipt were completely inaccurate. Like 5 to 7% more than what it should have been when you actually calculate it. And I'll show it right here, right now. Have all the evidence of the store that we went to, the time, the receipt, and everything. Take a look and tell me what you guys think. Okay, so as you can see here, here's the receipt, $27.07. We're in Tampa, Florida at the Fowler store. So tell me how 18% does not equal $6.29. If you guys take out your calculator.
So before we let him take his calculator out, quick math, I always do it this way, 10% twice, right? So $27.07 is his total, so 10% we know is $2.70, so twice is $5.40. You can quickly look at the 20% says $6.98. Even the 20% is higher than what the 18% is recommending. 18% saying $6.28. Well, 18% is not $6.28, 20% is only $5.40, so where are they coming up with these numbers? Some people commented on this gentleman's video and said he must have had something with a discount and the tip was based on the gross service. He's not showing the itemized. Possible, right? But, and I'm going to put this out there, popular opinion or not, if my total is $50 and I give you a $10 off coupon and now my new total is $40, 20% tip on $40 is $8, but it might show as $10 because they're putting that 20% estimate on what the original amount was, right? So it's going to show $2 higher than what it may actually be. Well, I think that's deceptive. I think that's a scam, and I think that if they're doing that, that's wrong. And if their computers are set up that way, they should fix it, or they should notify you. They shouldn't, at any point, put a tip on the gross amount before I have a discount. Or if there's a buy one, get one free on entrees, and the entrees are 20 a piece, and so my total's 40, but I get one for free, now it's 20. Well, 20% on 40 is $8. 20% on 20 is $4. So do I tip 4 or do I tip 8, right? So I think that's deceptive because I just think they should be honest about it. And if they expect you to tip on the gross part, say that or put this is what the gross is and this is what the net is. I know we can do math. It's simple math, right? We're all adults here. But at the same time, somebody's going to argue, well, the server still brought you 2 entrees. They still did the same amount of work even though you got a deal, then you should be tipping on that higher amount. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should they tip on the higher amount or not? And I know I'm going to get the same comments I got all throughout the other video. You don't tip on the total after tax. You do it pre-tax. We all know that, or at least we should. But when the servers bring you out your check, it's always just an all-in total of the tax included. And so you'd have to back all that out and do all the math. Sometimes it doesn't show the total before tax. Sometimes it does. But most people said you shouldn't tip on the amount with the tax included. That's personal preference. I just take the total, I tip, and that's the end of it. It's an extra 50 cents or dollar. It is what it is, right? In most cases, unless you're at somewhere, freaking expensive.
Clearly, you can see it's only $4.87. So explain again, Chili's. This is not only a deceptive practice, but illegal as crap. So please, Chili's, tell me, what is going on?
It's a fair question. Why is their system doing that? Is it something that he had a coupon on? He doesn't say. We can only gather. He did another video where he said he didn't, but again, he hid it all so nobody could see the itemized. But even if he did, again, the question remains, should you be tipping on that total gross amount before a coupon, after a coupon, before tax, after tax? Let me know in the comment section below and I'll check them out and respond to as many as I can. All right, we're gonna see another one, and this is really, really bad in vacation cities, high fashion cities, Vegas, LA, Miami, New York. Now, it happens everywhere, but it is notorious in these cities. I live a couple hours from Miami. I've been to South Beach. I've been to Key West, obviously, and I can hop in the car and drive down there in a couple hours. And it is notorious on the South Beach Strip. It's notorious in Key West. It's notorious in other big cities, Chicago, which I've been to. I didn't notice it in Dallas, actually. New York City, I have not visited since I've been a grown adult. I was there when I was like 18, 19. But since then I have not. And LA, I have never been to. Shocker, I've never been to California except for the airport. So what is this? It's them inflating your tip amount. Check out this video and you'll see what I'm talking about. And it's really bad in Vegas, which I've been to a ton of times.
In Vegas a lot. I want you to see my bill is $18.42, but look at those tip options. Sometimes it's not as noticeable, but 20% of 18 is not $6.80.
No, it's $3.60 plus the 4, so it's like $3.68, right? And they're saying $6.80. Vegas is notorious, same as what we just saw in the first video, but even more inflated, like hugely inflated. And a lot of it is because they think people are drinking, or they know people are drinking, and you're not going to notice, or you're not going to call them out for it. Funny thing is, she doesn't show the itemized either, which is crazy because, again, it could be based on an itemized, but I don't see Vegas giving discounts and coupons, right? Not like that. So the itemized may or may not matter. It's just kind of a coincidence. I guess nobody shows it, but maybe it's not. Maybe it is what's happening. It's on the gross rather than the net, right?
Cents. You'll see this a lot in Vegas where they will overcharge the percentage price just so that they get more money. Obviously, 20% of 18 is what, $3, so they're charging me double. Now, I'm always one to tip 20%, but I'm not tipping 40%. But when I see establishments running this quote-unquote scam, it really turns me off from tipping altogether. My advice to you all is just to not always believe this tip option and actually make sure it's correct, because this is Vegas and everybody will screw you over for an extra dollar.
Yep, absolutely right. Vegas will take advantage of you left, right, and any way they possibly can. Trust me, been there, done that. Been in Vegas a dozen times, and it is just a place you have to watch every step. And unfortunately, it's hard because when you are in Vegas, most people are having some drinks. You're having some cocktails. You're on vacation. You're enjoying yourself. And it's tough to keep an eye on every penny, right? Every dollar. And so Vegas will try to get that extra dollar out of you any way they possibly can. All right, these next two guys are going to talk about tip culture in America and the scam that it is as a whole, which I tend to agree with a lot of what they have to say. Listen to this first guy and let me know if you agree with him in the comment section. Let me know if the whole tip culture in America, because it doesn't happen in the rest of the world, is actually a scam, or is it the best way to handle business? Because this is all about being an entrepreneur, owning a restaurant, and how tipping really came to be how it is. Check him out. He's got some really good points.
Tipping is the biggest scam in America. All right, what's good, y'all? So in America, we are a big tip culture. Business people got smart and they realized that they could offset their costs to their employees onto the consumer. So instead of them paying high labor costs, they put the onus onto the consumer to make them feel as if they need to pay not only for their food, but also pay the worker, which is a huge scam. Now, I'm somebody who actually owns a business, so I truly understand business dynamics, and this is 100% a scam by business owners, 1,000,000%. You should not have to pay for a service plus extra. That's not how things work. Your service is, whatever, cost $100, you get your $100. You should not expect to get $120, $140. It doesn't make any sense. What I think should happen is businesses should just raise their prices to something fair, pay their workers a fair wage, and not have the workers have to feel that they need tips, right? Like, not have them feel like they need tips to survive, and it creates a better experience for everybody, A to Z. That way, when you order your food and that bill comes, you know exactly what you need to pay. There's nothing weird, nothing funny. And even in other service-based businesses, such as like makeup artists, hair, nails, all that stuff, barbers. When I get in the chair to get cut, my haircut's $60, but it's became like frowned upon to pay like $60. Like, you gotta at least throw $10 in there. So that's kind of how things have gotten to this weird point where it's like, yeah, I charge $60 for this, service, but then it's like I also want more on top. if you just want more on top, just charge more. I don't know. That's just how I, see it. Let me know what y'all think about my take. I think my take is right. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I feel like my opinion is right. But look.
I tend to agree with them a lot. Like, yeah, if you're going to get a haircut and it's $30 and then you don't leave them a tip, which should be, maybe $5 or $10, say it's $40 haircut and you're supposed to leave them $10, right? Or $8 or whatever, and you don't leave it, it's really, really bad. They get mad. And that's because the owner of the hair salon that they're working in is charging the $30 and they're only paying out the person X amount of money, $5 an hour, $10 an hour, whatever it is, right? And they're working on the tips. So if the owner paid him $20 an hour and, the haircut takes an hour and the owner, instead of charging 30, charges 40, the owner's going to make their 20, the person's going to make their $20 an hour, and everyone's going to be happy. Like, I think he's right. I think he's got a great point. We're going to hear a little bit of history about how these tip cultures in America really started, how they became so big from the next gentleman. So let's jump over to that one. And this one might help your opinion before you jump down in that comment section.
I want to talk about something that is out of control in this country. You ready? Tipping. That's right, tipping. Everyone expects it, all right? You go to Starbucks, they expect you to tip. You go to Crumble Cookie, all they do is pick them up and put them in the box and hand you the box. They expect you to tip. Like, what? I get it. If I go to Chili's or Texas Roadhouse or somewhere, I'm going to tip my server, okay? I'm going to make sure that they feel the love, all right? Because I appreciate them. Not that I don't appreciate other people, but I don't get tipped at my job. Why is it that everywhere you go expects a tip? And some of them don't even have like a decline option. It's like Crumble Cookies, for example, is like you're paying $20 for 4 cookies, right? Yeah, they're good. I get it. You picked it, go there, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't have to feel like I'm obligated to now pay $25, $30 for these cookies because they flipped around a little pad. Like, no, this needs to stop. It is out.
Yeah, so he's right. So if I go to a restaurant and sit down, my server is bringing me drinks, refilling my drinks, bringing my salad, bringing out a tray of food, cleaning up, picking my table up. He or she deserves a tip, right? Like they're doing some work. But if I walk into Cookie Crumble or what have you, and I say, hey, can I get those couple of cookies? And you put it in a box and hand it to me, like literally you just pick up the box and hand me the box, that's all you did. Don't flip around a screen asking me for a $3 tip or a $4 tip or a $5 tip. You didn't do anything more for that tip. When you're serving a table, you are doing something for that extra money. You're above and beyond. Even though the service I'm paying for is a meal, I'm paying to be cooked a meal by your chef. I'm being paid to be provided that meal by the restaurant and the ingredients and the food. You're doing something. You're working. You're doing manual labor. You're walking back and forth. You're cleaning the table. You're helping the busboy get some of the stuff into my plates out of my way so I can make room for more. You're bringing it out. You're keeping my drinks filled. You're working for it, right? Like you're working for something extra. Even a bartender, even though hey, can I get a beer? And you just hold it up there and pour a beer and hand it to me. Well, that's $1 tip. I'm not going to tip you 20% of a $5, well, I guess the $5 beer, 20% is $1, but I mean, $1 for a drink, right? Like that's my typical line for a bartender. If you're going to make me a mixed drink that requires 3 or 4, cocktail mixes and it's $10, am I going to give you a $2 tip instead of a $1 tip? Maybe, yeah. If we go in and we order 2 $10 drinks, me and my fiance, and it's a $20 thing, am I going to give you $24? I might, 22, 23, 24 bucks, and the bartender's got it much easier than a server, which is imagine why a lot of people would rather bartend than serve, and the bar tabs get high quick. But turning an iPad around, no, like what are you doing, right? Like some people argue like the Subway person making your sandwich. Can you tip them $1? I suppose. I'm so sick of going into restaurants or cafes or places of business and then asking or being asked for a tip at the cash register even though somebody really didn't do anything. And don't even get it mistaken. If I go into self-checkout at Walmart or Target and they start asking for stuff, I'm liable to go to jail for breaking those machines because don't ask me to do the work and then on top of it ask me to donate or tip to you. No freaking way.
Out of control. I work hard for my money. I don't make more money because everything's 15 times more expensive now. My job doesn't care. We don't make more money, right? I spend my money. I get that. People are going to stop going to these places because they're sick of feeling obligated to tip, all right? You already have to bring your own bags into Walmart, okay? They're not going to supply bags anymore. I already checked myself out at Walmart. Now I got to bag my own things. Okay, cool. Now I got to bring my own bags. Great. Are things gonna get cheaper? No. But I bet you it won't be long before it says, would you like to tip the door greeter? Sorry, man. Like, it's just out of control.
So we don't have that issue. I think I mentioned it in a previous video. We sell plastic bags. My friends, family friends, longtime family friends from up north in Maryland came down to Florida. They visit all the time and they stay at our house. And they took all my plastic Walmart bags out of my cabinet. We keep them, in the little pantry cabinet over here when we're down in Walmart or Publix or whatever. And they were like, oh, can we have all your bags? And I'm like, huh? I didn't think that the other places up north don't really provide bags. So that was a little culture shock for me. But here in Florida, which you'd think because we're in Florida and we have a lot of wildlife and marine, and that's sort of, protecting the environment is the reason they do it. Up in Maryland, they have Chesapeake Bay, so they're real big on that. Growing up there, I know that. But yeah, you'd think they do it here in Florida. They don't, but it was kind of funny to hear that. Now this guy, he's got an interesting take on it. I'll let you hear him out because this one, a little interesting.
History of the tipping system, or that the United States of America is really the only country that has tipping? It came from the Great Depression so that servers could keep their jobs, but the owners didn't have to pay them as much. Well, the Great Depression is long gone, but that system still remains. So you really don't want to tell me that it is a scam, that the customer is the one who gets the ire of the server not getting paid enough, not the employer who is actually giving them the job. I, as the customer, only have the obligation to patronize the restaurant, look at the menu, see what I want, pay the price. I am not responsible for making sure that the employee makes sure that they themselves can eat at night, correct? It's allowed for a two-tiered wage system. Think about that. And you really want to tell me that's not a scam?
Okay, here's the thing. Our bartenders, local bartenders in my neighborhood, I live in a lagoon neighborhood. There's a man-made lagoon built in my neighborhood. We golf cart or walk over to it. They get paid like $4 an hour, right? They work on tips alone. Like literally when we go up there and have a couple drinks and leave them $5, everybody down the whole bar leaves them $5. There's 20 or 30 parties. They get to make $100, $150 in an hour, 2 hours, right? So it makes sense, right? But could they get paid $15 or $20 an hour and the bar increase the price of the drinks by $1 or $2? Well, yeah, that makes sense because if there's 20 or 30 people down there and every drink is an extra $1, extra $2, now you're charging an extra 20, 30, 40 bucks. Over the course of an hour, they make that, but there's no tips. Well, the bartender makes more in tips in an hour because of the amount of drinks, the math. They can serve more drinks in an hour and get paid those tips, $2, $3, than if every drink was increased by $1 or $2. They will make far more money because some people tip a lot, some people don't, but it always adds up the math differently. I've had this discussion with the bartenders. But again, it is not the customer's responsibility, I agree, to pay tips to make sure that bartender can survive. If we did not tip, if everyone stopped tipping at that bar, that bartender is not going to work there for $4 an hour. It's just not going to happen. That's not even minimum wage, so it wouldn't be allowed. But they're not going to have anybody there to work, right? Nobody's going to take that job unless they can work for the tips and they can make the tips, right? And if the bar increased the prices and said no more tipping, it still may not be enough to keep them around. The math just doesn't math usually, but it's a really good point. What do you think? Is it our responsibility to pay enough tips to make sure our favorite bartender or server can afford to pay their bills? Next guy's gonna bring up an interesting topic, which is a Trump thing, political, don't care about that, but it's just something that's happening, was no tips, or no tax, on tipped workers. No tax on that part of the money. They can report their paycheck, whatever that amounts, they'll be taxed on that, but no tax on their tips, which to me is kind of bad for two reasons. One is most of their money is made in tips. So essentially service workers are gonna get to pay a way, way less tax rate than the rest of us. So how is that fair, regardless of what their job is? If most of their money comes via tips, they don't have to pay taxes. That's bad for the rest of us. What's bad for them as service workers is that now they're not paying taxes, so they have no reportable income. So how, if they're service workers, do they ever expect to get a car loan, a house loan, or get approved for anything if they don't have any proof of income because they don't have to file taxes on their tips unless they choose to? So that's sort of a catch-22 right there, kind of a slippery slope. But let's see what he has to say about it, and then you can let me know in the comments section.
No tax on tip is a stupid idea. Tipping isn't a generosity, it's a loophole to avoid paying workers a livable wage. And the history of tipping is pretty dark. It started after slavery. Businesses hired freed black workers but refused to pay them, forcing them to rely on tips. Tipping didn't start as gratitude. It started as a wage avoidance. Which brings us to today, where tipped workers can be paid as little as $2.13 an hour. Meanwhile, 3 out of 5 Americans all agree that tipping is just a substitute for a real business model, where the customer pays the worker instead of the employer. We're essentially feeding a system that monetizes generosity and makes it out as a choice. But it's never been about thanking someone. It's about businesses outsourcing payroll to guilt. In other countries, people get paid a working wage. But in the US, you tip or they go hungry. Tipping isn't an appreciation, it's a scam. And we're the ones propping it up.
He's agreeing with the other guys. He's saying that we should not be responsible, that these restaurants and businesses should pay their employee an actual wage, $15, $20 an hour, $25 an hour, right? But you got to remember, when we're talking about a livable wage versus minimum wage versus service workers, when you're talking about a minimum wage of $15 an hour McDonald's employee, well, that's not a livable wage. You can't live on your own as a single person on $15 an hour in this country. $15 an hour is about $2,400 pre-tax, probably around $2,000 post-tax. If you're taking home $2,000 to live on your own anywhere in this country, even in a cheap place where it's maybe $800 or $1,000 in rent, you're barely going to survive on $2,000. That's just not going to happen, right? It's only $24,000 a year. You just can't do it. That's your take home. You're not going to be able to do it alone. Maybe with two people and $4,000 coming into a house, but not on one. And so then we're talking about a livable wage. So if you're talking about getting rid of tips, you're going to ask people not to work for minimum wages servers. They're not going to do it. That's McDonald's work, right? They're going to want a livable wage, which, okay, let's move it to $20 an hour. That's $800. That's $3,200 a month. You're talking about $2,600 to $2,800 take home. Reasonable? Can you live on it alone? Doable. Difficult. Only if you live in a cheap area. You live in New York, you live in LA, you live in Miami, you live even here in Tampa, places where tourists go, places where it is expensive to live. You can't live on $2,000 or $3,000 a month on your own. You just can't make it in these high cost of living cities. It's not the same as living in somewhere like maybe Mississippi or Arkansas or Missouri, where cost of living tends to be a little bit lower than it is, in a place like Tampa. Orlando is very expensive. Tourist, international, Orlando, vacations, resorts, right? Disney. It's very expensive to live in Disney. Somebody on their own making $25,000 to $3,000 take home is not going to survive. They're going to struggle. So that's not even a livable wage, and I don't see any restaurant or bar or establishment paying a bartender $20, $25 an hour to come in and sling drinks if there's no tips. So there you go. Servers and bartenders do it because they make more than minimum wage. They make more than a livable or even minimum wage pay. So if you think about it, if you're talking about a server who makes $4 an hour and works a 6-hour shift, they make $24 for the 6 hours, right? So they're $4 an hour. Well, if they are turning over 2 or 3 tables an hour, let's just say 2 tables an hour, 6 hours, that's 12 tables. Let's say that they average $10 a table. Well, that's $120 in tips. Plus they made $140, or they made their $24 from their paycheck. So they made $144 that night divided by 6 hours, comes out to $24 an hour. And that's only $10 a table. Most tables you'd hope to get a little bit more. So they could make anywhere from $25 to $30 an hour. They're not going to work for $15, $20 an hour if there was no tips, just so that a restaurant can get away with paying them a minimum or a minimum livable wage. They would rather work for the tips. I promise you that is absolutely no way my bartender's going to come to work. He works on a Saturday here and will make $300 or $400 in a 6-7 hour shift. You're talking about $50 an hour. So he's not going to come to work for $15 or $20 an hour. All right, I'm going to close this up with one last clip here, and this is actually employees trying to steal, trying to get more tips out of people. And the reason this happens is because nobody wants to tip a place like Starbucks handing you a drink out of a window. That's where this video is from. It's a Starbucks location, I don't know where, but the gentleman who's getting his coffee here does not leave a tip, and the waitress, or excuse me, the lady in the window, the drive-through lady, is intent on getting a tip because it has been ingrained in people's brains. So check it out. It's pretty nasty that they will go to these links to steal these tips because they're trying to survive. They're trying to pay their bills.
Cool, I've never had a motorcycle come through before.
Hello.
Hi. 559, please.
I'm sorry?
559.
Oh yeah, of course, I got you. Thank you, by the way. I should have come prepared. I have plenty of time to wait.
Alright, here goes. Tap it right there.
Bam. What'd she say? 559. Discover transaction alert. 1059. $5 tip. She just clicked that button herself.
59, please. 559, please.
Thank you
So give a shot. All right.
I'll get out of this guy's way.
All right.
See you later.
By the way, side note, it looks like he got a chocolate crumble chip frappuccino. I don't drink coffee, I don't drink Starbucks, but I will drink those. So he never actually posted part 2. He posted a video saying he wasn't going to post from inside the store because he left his camera mounted to his bike and he only had his phone to record with. This actually looks like a local shopping center to me. It looks like one that's familiar to me, not far away. I'd have to check where he's located. But A, was that a chocolate chip crumble frappuccino? Am I right about that? And 2, what would you have done? Would you have gone in and confronted her, or would you have called her out right there at the window? Bam, $5 tip. She clicked that button. It's clear as day. He showed the transaction receipt. Yeah, anything can be photoshopped, I know, but she just saw it and was like, oh, click. No, never let anyone click the tip button for you. And if they do, you go, hey, stop. You just click the tip button, go ahead and stop what you're doing and go back. Like, I would have called him out at the window and I would have held it up. Too bad. And she said, I heard her mention, oh, I've never had a motorcycle come through here before. You never had a motorcycle in Starbucks? That tells me she's new. Maybe she just started there. She hasn't been there very long to never have a motorcycle. I see motorcycles go through Starbucks all the time and I don't even go there. So if she's never seen one as a worker there, she must be pretty new. So what do you think of that? Waitresses, waiters, drive-through window people, whoever, just trying to scam a tip out of you. All right, that's gonna wrap up the video for today. Tip culture, a huge thing. My personal opinion, we should not be paying for people to have a livable wage if they're working, but I already know that a lot of waitresses and waiters and bartenders and service industry people live on those tips because they make more than what a business owner is going to agree to pay them even if they raise their prices. So I see the conundrum there. What do you think the solution is? What do you think the ultimate best course of action is for everyone, the business owner to make the most money, the bartender, the service worker to make the most, and for us to not have to be in tip culture? How do the rest of these countries do it? Do they, obviously they survive, so we have to see what works for them and why it's not working here in the United States of America. As always, thank you for your comments. Thanks for everything that you guys leave me, for watching the videos, for liking them and subscribing. I really appreciate it. And if you have a minute, make sure you turn on those notifications so you don't miss future videos. And check out all my links down in the description box, including my email, my other social media accounts like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook that you can follow me on, and some other great links to sponsors of this channel. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.